use this method to help you to relax?
I've had sleep apnea for a number of years in combination with restless leg. One of those by itself is probably enough to ruin the night's sleep. Between the two of them, I generally don't feel very much rested the next day. We've done the course here, or I've done with Ryle as an observer this week. That's 5 days. And it's early days. Subjectively, I think that I feel that I'm sleeping better, in that I wake up feeling more normal in the mornings than I have been for some time. And I previously tended to doze off during the day, not at the easiest opportunity, and I'm not doing that so much now. In fact, almost not at all.
Well, I would say, Graham, you look a lot better. You are breathing better at night.
Oh, it's an uncontrolled nervous twitch in the leg. Tends to increase with age. It's genetically related, I believe. It's controlled, in my case, with Permax, which doesn't seem to have any adverse side effects. But sleep specialists that I'd been to before that tried me on various medications and with somewhat disastrous results from side effects. I'm interested to see if, perchance, the Buteyko stuff that I'm doing might, coincidentally perhaps, have a beneficial effect on that. The simplistic, if you like, or fairly simple presentation that's necessary at the beginning of these courses, I found a little bit unconvincing. Relating the depth of breathing to the pH of the blood sounds fair enough, but all of the various diseases or complications that could be associated with a variation in pH sounded to me a little bit stretching it somewhat. I think I'd still say that I'm inclined to think that from the literature or the claims that are made, I would think perhaps that some of them might be a bit dubious. But I'm also, as an engineer, very pragmatic and empirical, and the system works. So I can't understand how medical practitioners can say, yes, as we've seen on some of the videos, yes, these people with severe asthma have had their symptoms significantly improved, but I don't believe the system works. That seems to me to be quite ridiculous. Over the past few days, I've looked a bit more closely into the chemistry and the physiology on the net, and although I haven't got my mind across the whole system and how it works at this point, it certainly does appear to have a biochemical basis which is not necessarily apparent in the brief introduction that one gets of necessity. Certainly I intend to persevere, and I think the course itself is very well structured. It's relatively expensive in a sense, but I've been on a CPAP machine, and the CPAP machine is about twice the cost of the course. So if I'd done the course before the CPAP, then I could have saved it perhaps. It's early days. I certainly don't. I feel I've benefited from it, and I think the course is well structured in terms of particularly the number of exercise sessions in breathing that are done. I think it's essential that you do or certainly highly desirable that you do the 5 days in one hit, because then by the end of it, which is where we are now, I'm ready to persevere with the exercises, even though I find them a bit of a pain in the backside. So there you go.
I went to one of Paul's seminars quite a while ago, I think it was at the CAE, and the place was crowded, and I was very impressed with what he said. But because of working overtime, I was sort of couldn't fit the course in. But now I've retired, I saw this course advertised in the paper, and I immediately thought, oh, this is where I've got to go. And I went up and did the night, and my wife said, this is what you need. and my family had been actually pushing me to believe I had sleep apnea and asthma and all these things, and they've been pushing me to get treatments from different people and go to all these other places and organise, but I said no, I'm going to hang off, and this is the course I believe is good for me. I was very worried because of the condition of my lungs, but I've worked hard this week and I've got benefit so far. I've got a good wife who constantly tells me, keep your mouth shut, so that's a big help, and I'm very pleased with the way I'm going. But after 64 years I sort of would not believe I could get to this stage, and being able, I would not have believed until I met Paul, and he's convinced me that I can keep my mouth shut, breathe through my nose and get back on track. And I haven't had the mucus up my nose. I've been able to clear that quite easy with Paul's method. The stomach's a little bit sore through the exercises, but Paul tells me that this is all part of it. So what he's advised is that I take some of his Celtic salt each day, and that will help that symptom, and very shortly that will come good.
For a number of years I've been sleeping with my mouth open and waking very uncomfortable. I investigated this through my doctor, had a sleep test, and I've been diagnosed with sleep apnea. So I'm facing the prospect of having to go onto the CPAP machine. And just in the nick of time, it seems, I saw the advertisement for the Buteyko course in the local paper, and so I came along this week, and I've had 3 nights sleeping right through the night and breathing through my nose, and I'm absolutely delighted. I was very sceptical. I couldn't see how something that you could learn to do consciously during the daytime would have a spin-off at night. You know, that your breathing could change overnight. But it did. It's absolutely amazing.
Like my wife saw an advertisement in the local newspaper. As soon as we saw there was something that mentioned sleep apnea, so again, that's something I'm interested in. So I've been suffering with it now for well, quite some time, but I guess I've been diagnosed since November 2003. If it's a movie that doesn't really take my interest, if I take the kids along to the movies, I'll find that I'll be off and dozing off, or maybe even snoring away, which is not good. It's pretty embarrassing and so on. I would say desperation is not too strong a word for it, because it's not too easy being on the CPAP pumps. I'd love to be able to get rid of it. I've only just recently adapted to it. I think I had a pretty poor attitude towards it, adapting to the pump. So I'd just love to be able to get rid of it. I'm finding even the breathing method itself is rather comfortable to do. It's easy to do, and it's comforting. And as a consequence, you feel, you know, a bit better spirits, a bit more optimistic. Because when anybody's unwell, of course, they just don't feel that great, and the spirits can be pretty low. So I'm feeling a lot better from that point of view, feeling a lot more optimistic. The consequences of sleep apnea can be pretty bad. I'd like to be able to just control my sleep better, get a better sleep, work better through the day, feel better through the day. I just did it yesterday for the first time, and I felt it pretty comfortable. And after a while, you move around and the thing sort of goes askew a little bit, and I just took it off. That was through the middle of the night, but my wife commented that I was sleeping quieter, a bit more restful with the tape on, so I'll definitely be putting it on, and I'll be crisscrossing it, I think, tonight.
My wife found out about the course. It basically works on too much snoring and some apnea that I suffer with. So I've come to the course to see how I could reduce that and basically improve breathing. And everyone says I speak and breathe through my mouth on the phone, and it can be annoying. I've heard about the Buteyko previously, and thought I'd give it a run, and it's proved to be pretty positive for me. Control pause of around 20 I started with, and today I've hit 70, so that's within 5 days. Pulse has gone down from around the 60 down to 48. So it's been pretty positive. A couple of practice sleeps without the normal regalia on, and it's been pretty good. My wife's actually saying not too much noise. It's good. Yeah, well, the CPAP machines basically, I believe, probably kept me going, kept me alive, and no other way to control the apnea, I dare say, or the snoring. This has certainly started to show up a lot better. No dry mouth in the morning. I can actually sleep for periods now without making horrendous noises and waking up choking. It's pretty good.
I mean,
if you've ever woken up and not been able to breathe, you have to get out of bed and run around and you still can't breathe. It's pretty horrible. I started to see a difference from the third day here. A significant difference in my breathing. My pulse went down almost immediately. My breath control pauses didn't do a great deal for 2 days, but they've certainly shown to be a lot better now. No blocked nose. A lot of the things that you typically get from, now I know, from being a mouth breather. I talk on the phone a lot, and I deal with people during the day in my job, and you've just got to be constantly practicing. I'll eventually get better and better at it. Two of the things I found is my mouth is nowhere near as dry, and my voice has certainly dropped, compared to how it typically is. It happens as a normal practice now. The walking, when you're not talking, it's easy. The concentration comes when you've got to talk.
you seem to be doing it well.
Trying hard.
Good on you.
My name's Murray Cree. I'm a professional social worker, counsellor and business coach. I'm a sleep apnea sufferer, have been for years and years. Haven't really understood what's been going on and haven't been able to give very clear answers about how to resolve the issues, and certainly haven't been given any self-treatment alternatives. Been told that I should look at going onto a CPAP machine. I've tried it and it's most uncomfortable, unpleasant, and doesn't seem to make the solutions that I need. Buteyko Method makes a lot of sense. The theory of it, the concept, all fits together. I realise that I've been breathing from my mouth for too long, and no one's ever told me that that's the wrong way to be dealing with it. And I've got my nose broken in a rugby game when I was about 20 years of age, so I've had slightly impaired intake through the nose. I'd say to any sleep apnea sufferer, if you seriously want to deal with the problem, and if you've got a serious condition like mine, then you better start looking at this method and finding a way of taking control of it. I'm also very concerned that it's not well publicised by the transport accident organisations, because there are quite a few of us who suffer from sleep apnea who slam into trees and drive off roads because we fall asleep, and I think that's a safety message that hasn't yet come through. What it's done is actually given me a technique for clearing my nose and being confident about clearing it, because when I was breathing through my mouth, of course, the nose contracted with mucus, and so consequently it was always a problem because I could never find a way of fixing the nose to get maximum capacity out of an impaired condition. And now I've got a solution: keep my mouth shut.
Well, I'd like to say that before I came to the Buteyko seminar, I have a very bad sinus problem, a mild sleep apnea, and so frequently I wake up through the night and very heavy snoring. And I've noticed in this week that I have the best sleep that I had in a long time, waking up rested. I haven't been waking up at night, and also the snoring has reduced quite significantly. So I used to use the decongestant for my sinus about 4 to 5 times a day. Now it's been reduced to once or twice, and I'm hoping that I continue to see improvements in the coming weeks. My routine for this week has been to do a set of exercises when I get home, once before going to bed, once in the morning, and I have 2 or 3 breaks during the day at work, and I take some of that time to do the exercise. It takes a little bit of discipline, but I didn't find it too hard as long as I can find a quiet place. I'm lucky that I work in an office, so I can close the door and put the clock there and do the exercises. But I've let the other people in the office know that I'm doing some breathing exercises, and I'll just take a little bit of time, and it's worked out quite well. The first night I woke up the following day and I had the tape wrapped around my finger, and I couldn't even remember how I've done that. And after that, the following nights, I woke up with the tape on my mouth. And the other thing that surprised me is that I slept on my back, on my left side the whole time without any aid. And yes, that was quite surprising, and it really helped as well.
I mean, I came here on Sunday night having had 2 hours sleep the night before because I just could not get to sleep, and it wasn't that I was going through a lot of stress, or it was just that I just could not get to sleep, and that's been a pattern. That's been one of the major symptoms for the 3 years. So as I said, I went to sleep at 10:30 Saturday night and couldn't get to sleep till 5:30 in the morning. However, coming here, I have slept every night since, and I woke up one night, having gone to bed about 10:30, and so I woke up about 1:30. Felt like I'd slept for 10 hours, and just went back to sleep straight away. It's 5-10 minutes after, and I've been waking up about 7-8 o'clock in the morning, feeling refreshed. Yeah.
The people you come to rely on, like the medical profession, that you expect to be able to give you options, they don't. They seem to go down that single and that narrow-minded path of medication or surgery. And I've had 2 lots of nasal surgery. The first surgery, lot of surgery I can probably accept because my septums were crooked and it did make a difference. But I've had more surgery since I've done this course. I found out it wasn't necessary because I had swelling in the nose, and the specialist said I'll just trim it. Well, of course, I've since learned that it's because I've been releasing too much CO2, and the smooth tissue muscle swells to stop you from releasing more CO2, so it's actually protecting me. So that surgery wasn't necessary, but that's okay. I'll let that one go. I would never have thought that I could go the whole day and breathe through my nose and rely on it. Go 24 hours, go 6 to 8 hours. Never thought I could do it. And I've done it today, even though obviously I'm going through, I guess, what Paul described as a clearing. Your body's adjusting and so forth. But even with that, I can still breathe through my nose. And it's just been fantastic. Sleeping at night, much better. I know it's only going to get better. The idea of putting tape on your mouth when you're so used to relying on your mouth, and I guess it's a lack of confidence around relying on your breathing. I'll be honest with you, I lived in fear for years of having to ever rely on my nose to breathe. With someone covered my mouth over, what would I do? But that's gone now, because you can develop these sorts of fears. But it's good, and I'll put the tape on at night. I've taken it off, I've only worn it twice, so there's quite a journey ahead of me with that, and that's fine. I could have it on my mouth for many weeks and months to come, and that's okay. But I've been taking it off in my sleep. But I've noticed the difference just last night with the second night, that I didn't take it off till about 5 AM, so that's a real improvement. Yeah, the difference in just such a short time. And the exercises, like I said, the other thing I could say is about the comment on, the exercises, they have made a huge difference. Huge difference. When I did my very first control pause on Tuesday night, and then Paul listed the seconds against the percentage and what it means in terms of CO2 levels, I thought, gosh, it's really low, isn't it? Mine was below 4. So here it is 3, is your danger level. And I realised, well, that's what I was doing, because I would have apneas in the night. And but now, already, what, in 4 days, I'm now at 5.5. I went up to 46 today, with how long I could hold my breath for. So that's fantastic. Really pleased. That's been my exercise, is to ride a bike. But I haven't done it in months because I was breathing through my mouth. Well, since, given what I've learnt this week, breathing through my mouth, hyperventilating, it was wearing me out. I'd only go for a half an hour bike ride. I'd be lucky to do 10 Ks, and I wasn't really going at a hard pace, and that's my limit. I couldn't go any further, and now I know why. So I'm going to get back on the bike. Looking forward to doing that.